The U.S. incarcerates more people than any country in the world, both in per capita and aggregate terms, 500,000 more than China, a dictatorship with 4 times the population base. And really, there's no government in the history of democracy that has ever locked up such a high portion of its citizens. We deal with drugs differently than any other country. We deal with petty crime differently. Really, it's mostly in those areas rather than violent crime.
You also talk in your book, Texas Tough, very powerfully about the historical roots of our system, rooted in slavery.
And really, you see incarceration has reached its apex in the South, and especially Texas. And yeah, like I argue in the book, the kind of rehabilitation-oriented corrections traces its roots back to northern churches around the time of the Revolution. Southern warehousing, retribution-oriented prisons that really have come to the fore and dominate the system we have now, you can trace their roots all the way back to the disciplinary forms that took root in slavery in the South.
You refer to racial assumptions that undergird some of our policy making. What do you mean?
Well, you know, people think that we lock people up, and that's an index of crime. But to a remarkable extent, the numbers of people we imprison and the amount of crime on the streets don't correlate with each other. What determines how many people we put in prison and for how long we keep them there is really our politics. And in particular, it's the dysfunctional way that we deal with racial politics and always have. And I argue in the book it's really a kind of politics of fear that metastasized in the backlash against civil rights and the rise of conservatism that has led the U.S. to incarcerate now 1 out of every 100 adults. And you know, almost a third of African-American men now will end up in prison at some point in their lives if present trends continue.